This is Patitos Gang. Today we're going to be looking at a germane issue. Germane because it's all encompassing and it's getting into public discourse, not just here in Nigeria. Outside our shores is becoming an issue that people are looking at very, very seriously. That is, women at the top, gender equality, women at the top. How are we doing? How is Nigeria faring? Even compared to our fellow African countries, are we there? The SDG 5 clearly indicates the fact that the gender gap between women and men in all spheres, from politics to the civil service, to the private sector, even down to the ivory tower, should be such that women should be given equal opportunities, one, and then girls and women should be given equal access. Like the other SDG 17 goals, the scorecard is indicating that we haven't even gotten on the map. Yeah? It's been very little, getting too late. What are we supposed to be doing? What should we really be doing to promote this gender balance and get our women, who I must say upfront, based on my personal experience, have not only been leaders that have seen, demonstrated in the professions, in careers, as mothers, as wives, and as daughters. Ngana?
Hi.
Your thoughts?
So, I'm a Nigerian, British woman who lives in the UK, and even in the UK, we have a long way to go. We can use so many examples, and my issue is the different initiatives that get women into companies, get them into organizations, but are we retaining them? Are we developing them to get to the top? And to get to the top, what sacrifices are we as women having to make? So it's simple things like flexible working that can really help. So if you're a mother, you're caring for your parents, your boss needs to understand that these are responsibilities that cannot be sacrificed. But some employers refuse to allow flexible working. So there's so many barriers as women that if we are to reach the top, we need companies and our managers to work with us because we have so much to offer.
Super. Tony?
Well, I think overall, there's a gender gap issue. We must admit that, objectively speaking. But I think historically, and we shouldn't lose sight of it, there has been marginal gains in terms of closing the gender gaps. You know, we are having leaders in industries and leaders in the academia, in politics. Are there enough? No, but there are marginal gaps. I think the discussion is, do we want to boost it, as they would say in the parlance? Do we want it to be an organic growth, or do we want to boost it? If we want to boost it, my thinking is that we should be conscious of two things. One is that it will be unfair to ask employers, for example, this is my take, to just take the cost upon themselves. I think we should know that if there's a problem, one, in this new world, this is 2020, in this new world, there's nothing stopping partners, whether married or cohabiting, to share responsibilities where in a gender blind way. There's nothing stopping that. The other thing is to be smart about it. There's a lot of ways you can work from home now. I actually refuse to say a lot of people, if we can discuss on the telephone, there's no need. We can video conference, we can email stuff and use WhatsApp. So we can save time by doing that. And I also think that we need to see the value that women can add into position. And if we're going to go to the point of, decision making, I think if women develop a consciousness of the need to support and patronize each other. Now I use the freedom of demand and supply. If a women are like young people, at least in Nigeria, they refuse to support each other because it's only in Nigeria that young people go and vote for old people. Or women in politics will refuse to vote for each other. If the population is anything to go by, then in the world, in Africa, generally, Nigeria specifically, if there is a correlation between population, presence, and power, then women should be in charge because they should just vote for each other. Young people should just vote for each other. So it tells you that that correlation is there. So is it voluntary slavery, a subjection of hating each other, or is it a fraud perpetuated by men? Those are the things that we need to look at. I mean,
Tony,
I'm a beneficiary of it, so
Tony,
I won't protest.
I also know that there are women in the professions, just like some human beings that we label as having some disability. And they say, please don't look at my disability to judge me. Judge me on account of the fact that I have the capacity, and in any case, I have the character to make things different. You just touched on an aspect, and I hope we'll get into that. What's your perception being reality, on this subject about women not being given enough opportunities to unravel? I mean, is it a dog-eat-dog situation? Or do you see situations that women have been able to hold theirs vis-a-vis men?
Well, I'm going to come to your question, but I want to touch on what Anthony said the other time. I mean, it's fascinating that kind of analysis is coming from you. Because really, if you look at the population of Nigeria, it's 50-50, 50% women, 50% men. And then if you look at the percentage of young people, it's quite high. In fact, across Africa. Having said that, I share your sentiments that if women were going to vote for themselves, they choose to vote for women in politics, women who are aspiring into governance, they could swing the votes. But then is it coming to your question, I'm going to marry is it about dog eating dog? What is going on? I think more than ever before, I mean, this is year 2020. It's that magical year. It's here already. I think women should change our strategy and begin to collaborate more. I think women, by virtue of what we've done in the past, have been more independent. We've worked independently, but it's time now to collaborate more, to join forces, whether socially, economically, or even environment-wise. I have talked about women in politics, over and over again. You have to make the environment enabling for women. I mean, if you say this form is going to cost this much, where am I going to get that without a funder?
Well, can I butt in there?
No, I'm not done.
You're not done. Okay, go. But there's nothing wrong with your reasoning, but go ahead.
Right. So then you look at women in leadership across the world. It's harder for women to be in leadership more than men, because then the expectations are higher. If I look at what's happening at Myanmar, I'm wondering, she was such a hero. And then she got there and became, quite tricky. Having used that example, you want to also look at somebody like Merkel of Germany. I mean, that's one of the most stable countries in the world, and she's been there like forever. So you want to ask, what's the staying power? What skills has she been deploying to be there? If you look at women in leadership in Asia, they have been under fire as well.
Super. Goes without saying, and Tony, you're going to jump into this. Funke, I agree. I hear you. From the little corner that I sit, I've seen situations where, in all fairness, women have been given the chance, but for whatever reason, there's this pull back. I use the word dog eat dog. Perhaps there are certain things that men daredevilry, do and they believe they can get away with it. But
And I think it's harder for women who are in leadership to be given a chance. I mean, I can tell you about Patricia Ete. I mean, if you look at, and I'm not missing words here, if you look at what Patricia Ete was accused of, and then you look at what Dimeji Bankole, came in to do afterwards, you're like, excuse me, people.
You see, again,
corruption is corruption.
Corruption is corruption, but when a woman is
treated.
corrupt, it's harder if she's just wants to. But a man is still, not really.
You say I don't agree with you. I think this is a feeling, it's a perception. I think good is good, bad is bad. I think Merkel in Germany is not a woman; she's a chancellor. I think
she's not a woman; she's a chancellor.
Yes.
I don't get you.
I think the best presidents of the world, if they are male, they're not male; they're just president.
No.
I think it's a human factor.
That's why we're having this chat.
That's why we're having it. But I, as a feminist,
We keep on having this.
as a feminist, I think we need to go on merit. And I think the best way is not to think women are given a chance. Women need to grab it. Not because they're women, but because they're reasonable, sizable, capable part of the
Women should be able
The
to
thing I
grab
like
it.
about what you said is, as a feminist,
Maybe I should just say
Kudos
this.
for that.
Women should be able to grab it. The opportunities are hovering. The cost of elections is being reduced and what have you. We are going to get back to that. You are going to jump into this. Let's go out there and hear what the ordinary man and woman on the streets has to say concerning this subject. We shall be back.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. You don't want people that are just striving to get there.
Gender gap in Nigeria exists, and the government can make this better by working with individuals that support women to help them bridge this gap. Also, when women see other women in these positions, they feel empowered and they also can take a stand.
I think women should stand up for themselves. I think women should stand for integrity. You are the first builder of your house. God made the man the head, but you are the driver as well.
We are back. I won't listen to the ordinary person on the streets concerning this subject. Usually what you'll find is that there will be people on both divides looking at the same vision, mission, and perhaps even values, but looking at it from different prisons.
My friend on the left said he's a feminist and he doesn't see Angela Merkel as a woman. He sees her as a person. Chancellor. So as a chancellor. And these are the same arguments that someone like myself, a black British person, has had to face when someone says, I don't see you as black. No, you have to see me as black to understand the struggle and the reason why these opportunities are important.
I refused to do African studies, and I refused to be the black professor. I did classics. I specialized in European studies because I didn't want to be the black professor. I've always said, I am Anthony Killer.
But why not?
Because it's a personal thing, and I'll tell you where I stand. It is my belief that in life, anytime we do the we and them is always trouble. What I encourage, and this is my kind of feminism, what I encourage is the I. Let individuals come up, regardless of their gender, their race, or their ethnic divide. The moment we're identified by our race, our gender, before our capacity, it demeans us.
I do not agree with that because your identity is important.
It is important, but it's not what I used to work. It is
No,
important.
It
I
is.
don't
And that's
want
why
to
we're
be-
having this discussion.
Now, this is the point, and I agree with you, and I think your position is more popular. But I think mine is a personal, but very well thought of and highly held view that if we start to create what we call empowerment, when we start to create quota and list, you're going to get second-hand people. You're going to get somebody look at you one day and say the reason why you're a broadcaster, a professor, or a doctor is because they give a quota to black people.
No, we're not asking for
The thing
quota.
is-
And there are people,
As we
I know you're
have
not, I'm just saying
to do-
where it goes.
Yeah.
So to avoid that totally, what I think that is that we should stick to universally agreed terminologies. A person
Tony,
has the right
no,
to apply.
I-
And if we want to push it, and I'll go further, if we want to push it, you know what we should do? Demand and supply. Let's go back again. Women should look at banks that have more directors and decide that that is where I'm going to put my money. Then the owners of the bank will say, hey, women seems to be pulling people to their banks. If you look at a supermarket run by a man or a woman, if you're a woman prone, and that's my kind of feminism, you know what? Anybody that supports my daughter gets my money or my vote. I really look at it that way. And I think that consciousness is how I think it should be judged. The idea of some kind of top-down battle for enabling, I didn't go for it.
Yeah, but you won't because you're a man.
No.
I get the animation and I buy into it. There will always, like I said, be two sides to the coin. The identity should and cannot be wished away. Over and above that, the capacity. I mean, I have situations here and just trying to draw it home. Back in history, we had Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, we had Margaret Ekpo, we had the Queen Amina of Zaria. They were women, no doubt, but they were recognized more from their can-do, and had even led men. Rwanda over there is doing great things with women in all spheres. In my own National Assembly, when you look at the ratio of women to men, infinitesimally small.
Women need to support one another more.
If
Women need to,
want.
but you don't want to support somebody blindly.
Exactly.
You want to
It
support
has to be
somebody who's got
qualified one.
substance.
And we agree
you want
with
to
that.
support somebody who you know is heading somewhere. You're not in it for the superficial reason of just wanting to run, but that you know this person is going to run and run
But
excellently.
let me shock you. You said something earlier on when we started, and I was going to pick that up, that, that part of empowering is to reduce the money for collecting form to. If I were a woman, I would refuse that actually. I would raise my money the way it's done.
Expensive.
It's too expensive for everybody.
to-
Look,
to be-
listen.
to be
Why do we
authentic.
assume the men are richer? It's not true. Ask the young men of today. It's not true. You see, the real statistics that actually on the mid-level managerial level, women are doing better than men today. And if you ask young people under 40 years old, they will tell you that actually women have more spendable income than them. One, because they keep their own, and it's easier to give to a woman than to a man. So this idea is a blind old idea. But I agree with one thing. There is a patriarchal structure that we need to unbundle. But again, I go back to where I started. There are marginal gains. We're not there yet, but we should not treat the issues of the postmodern digital era with the handle of the analog pre-modern era. A lot of changes have occurred. I think the solution is women getting a self-consciousness, but not a contrarian fighting for slots kind of consciousness. No. It is offering something to the society to say that we can do this, we are better than this. I mean, I'll tell you something. After the World War, the presence of women in the society, one, because, the silly men went to go and die during the war, and the women had to take over offices and the world. But one thing that brought women to the fore? Typewriters. All of a sudden, when the first typewriting school by Pittman was formed towards the beginning of the 19th century came out, and when they started using it, this is crucial in the history of humanity. That was one point where in the same room, men and women sat together, and women were better typing. And wow, they got the job. And here's the fraud. And what did men do? They relegated the post of typist. They turned it to something of assistant. Whereas before, that is the fraud. That I see.
But you know what I want to pick up?
And the same fraud. Sorry, I want to say this.
Yes.
And you put it to. And the same kind of fraud, for example, and here my feminism come in. The idea that people give birth and the name should be a man's name. I'm against it. If I had my way, children should retain the name of their mothers. Because maternity is certain. The one that can be doubted is paternity.
Well, you've talked about the pre-modernism age and all of that. But I just want you to know that in this age, we have a lot of women with agency. We have a lot of women with drive. If you look at across the industries, you have able women who are making strides. I may not be able to remember a particular name, but of course, Ibuka Woshika stands out. She'd made her own, you know,
the lady from the other
yes, as a chair of a chair company.
Absolutely.
And then she's been leading First Bank,
My
and she's
teachers.
done so well. There are other women in banking, the banking
Absolutely.
industry, who are
In
leading the
engineering,
bank in
vice
every area. So I don't know.
Let me
I
help you,
understand what
Funke.
you mean. We don't want
Ibukun
tokenism.
Awoshika,
We don't
First
want
Bank.
tokenism.
Mrs. Demure, GTB, another one,
You're my best friend right now.
and Mosun Bello Olushoga.
Thank you.
Erstwhile, Tony, in a journey of 1,000 miles, you take some first steps. It's one of the reasons, the convoluted federal character thing, you try and lower things just to try and
Terrible idea.
and encourage women. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem in giving that chance, and that chance is not used. On talk shows, just go take the statistics. How many women phone in to take part in this course? What is keeping women from doing that? Women are educated, they're empowered. I'm very sure in the UK, in the US, in Germany that we are talking about, given that 50%, why is the attitude such that a woman looks at you, Funke, and says you are trying to make it to the top, and then the next thing is begin to look at soft things and not want to support
Yes.
you.
And
You know, I just want to come to that because earlier on we talked about how women don't support women. I remember when I first started my journalism career, it was a woman that told me that for people to take me seriously, I shouldn't wear my big earrings. I shouldn't wear red lipstick. I should dress as it. I said, no. You have to take me as I am. And it's what is unique that makes me who I am. So for other women, they have people at home. They have their brothers, people saying to them, you know, you have to be this way. This career is not for you. So they start, and then sometimes that's what pulls them back.
There was a discourse. There
then
was a discourse
culture.
that I hear in the first world that you don't describe somebody as a woman journalist, a woman accountant, a woman is a president, he's a journalist of repute, he's an AI specialist of eclat,
so you're
and what
talking
have
about
you.
the labeling now.
Now,
Yes.
point is, there is no way we can do away with the identities. But I am strictly for competence. I am strictly for character. Unfortunately, time is not a friend. I think this discourse will have to continue. Follow this discourse. The social media handles are all stated in there. And we shall be back.